Let's talk trends for the future here in the Marketing Week Live studio. Joining me on the hot seat is Sean Donnelly from eConsultancy, and you've just been talking about trends for 2018 and beyond, haven't you?
I've just been on the marketing transformation stage talking about trends for 2018, yes.
Well, in that case, it should be very much at the front of your mind. So I know it's that time of the afternoon when the brain's starting to freeze up. I've just noticed we've got similar collar things going on here as well.
I like your style.
I like yours too.
I normally wear a waistcoat, but yeah, you wear it well.
At least we're coordinated there. Right, so clearly these are trends. What are the trends that you were talking about this afternoon now?
Okay, all right, so there are kind of three high-level trends, and then there are a number of kind of underlying trends that kind of feed those things.
Yeah.
So in terms of what are the higher-level trends, well, we have three things: customer experience, the importance of customer experience, content, and data. And they sound like three trends, but they very much go hand in hand. They kind of feed off of each other.
Yeah.
And underneath those things, then we kind of have different kind of digital technologies and tactics. So artificial intelligence will be a big one this year, and will probably be a big one for the next couple of years. I briefly mentioned blockchain, and not that I spent much time on that, but purely just to point out that sometimes we have a challenge where we might overestimate the impact of a technology in the short term, but underestimate its impact in the long term. So I just mentioned it just to put it out there to say this is something we're going to need to think about at some point in time. There's a lot of fads around it at the moment, but it's not going to go away.
Yeah, absolutely. I think many people, including Bill Gates, have had things to say about overestimating in that short term, but come 5 or 10 years' time, that's when we start to get the real value out of these technologies.
Exactly, and we don't necessarily know what that value is going to be.
Okay.
So another trend, or another thing that we talk about a lot at eConsultancy, is the importance of learning and development. So that's managing from an organizational point of view, but then also as individuals, particularly if we work in marketing, we need to take responsibility for our own learning and development, because we don't see what way those trends are going to go. And hands up, all of the research companies, they all take a view on where these trends are going to go, but generally, when you look back, if anybody were to take the time to look back in 10 or 20 years' time, they'll realize that everybody's wrong.
Of course.
So,
any kind of predictions, just ask political pollsters over the last couple of years. It's a complete mugscape.
Exactly.
I just want to come back a little bit to blockchain, just to try and understand. I mean, I'm not a blockchain expert. I don't know many people who genuinely are blockchain experts, but I'm curious about the kind of areas: artificial intelligence, machine learning. We've had a few conversations over the couple of days around how that can be used to spot patterns and do stuff with data. But in terms of blockchain, that's a term that's being bandied around, and the benefits are trying to be applied to a number of industries. Do you have any view on what the benefits to marketing might be of what blockchain distributed ledger brings?
It is funny that you should ask me that, David, because I am just in the process of originating a piece of research on examining that very question. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I don't have an answer. It just means that a lot of the use cases that people talk about or write about or whatever, they're actually just hypothetical use cases. So in marketing, for example, so programmatic advertising is a big trend. There's a lot of money being spent on programmatic advertising, but obviously there are issues there in terms of the data supply chain and trust. So there are some businesses who are working on creating blockchain-based solutions in order to be able to track that data supply chain.
Right.
Which would mean if these solutions can work, and currently they don't, or at least they don't at any kind of meaningful scale, it will mean that as a marketer, you will be able to see how your pound is being spent. Whereas at the moment, the big issue around programmatic is there's a bit of a black box there, that people don't know how their money is being applied.
Sure, really interesting. And then touching on artificial intelligence, that's one of those terms that's going up the hype cycle and maybe down the trough of disillusionment, if not already then sometime soon. How close do you see we are to getting some real value when it comes to leveraging artificial intelligence and machine learning to get some additional actionable insight out of the swathes of data that are being created?
Well, so let's be honest. So you mentioned machine learning, and in actual fact, when we talk about artificial intelligence, generally what we are talking about as marketers is just heavy data crunching. And it's not the artificial intelligence that people envision in their mind of the sentience and giving some kind of AI a personality. It's actually what we're talking about is generally more around machine learning. And in terms of the research that we did this year and that we presented on the stage a few minutes ago, the main use case for that is actually analyzing data. Because human beings, we're not very good at assimilating huge amounts of data. There's the magic number of 7. You know, it's very difficult to remember a phone number, but you can feed that information into a machine, and that should be able to pull out different kinds of insights and so on. But there's still a role for the human being to know the right questions to ask, to be able to interrogate that data, because a computer can analyze it, but it's up to us to ask the right questions.
Absolutely, absolutely. Mine is brought back to Douglas Adams and the answer 42, you know.
There you go.
But what's the question? Oh yeah, need a bit longer to work that out.
Yeah.
Listen, fascinating chatting with you, Sean. Thank you very much for taking
David.
your time out, coming and joining us here in the studio.
Great stuff, thank you.
Thank you.